printed parts / waste will be easily recyclable, maybe improving current recycling reprocessing methods or new polymers. Yeah, so actually this is an idea that I just came up with. I'm probably gonna have my enterprise students do, and probably also 3D printing students do in the future. And that is, every part you make, label what kind of plastic it is, because it's a big pain in the butt after it's printed and you got a bunch of, if you're that person that uses a bunch of different material, it's a pain in the butt to sort things out afterwards. So actually just putting a little stamp, kind of how we do with consumer products right now. We say what plastic they're made out of. Do that same thing with your 3D prints, just so we know what that print was, so it's easier to recycle. Yeah, the other thing I want to see is, so like in the Open Source Hardware Enterprise, we do our RecycleBot, which is recycling prints and virgin plastic into filament. I'd really like to see a commercial version of that. We haven't quite seen that yet. There's a lot of hobbyist things. Oh, the plane's taking off the other direction. Dang it. Anyways, and the other option is more printers that do direct extrusion, so we don't have to have an intermediate step. All you gotta do is grind up your prints and then put them in your printer that extrudes right from those ground up parts rather than needing filament. I see that happening in the future. All right, so Dylan had asked, what in your opinion is missing from the current state of 3D printers that is inhibiting their mass adoption? Is it material resolution, barrier to entry / education, cost? We saw a huge surge in popularity in the 2010s that seems to have plateaued. Have we reached the market cap of consumers? Is it just a tool for makers and engineers? Yeah, I think so, right? It became big in the 2010s because it became open sourced and it just really exploded from there, right? That's like the biggest open source hardware success story. So yeah, I really do think that we're about at that cap where even if 3D printers got better and better and better, I think that the people that want 3D printers probably already have 3D printers. So I don't quite see more adoption, right? We're getting a more adopted in like a college setting and things along those lines. And so that might kind of have more of a generational growth. But I don't really think there's anything technology-wise that could make them more appetizing to like someone like my mom, you know? All right. Right, you think of that as like a setup to do like powder coat painting or things along those lines. Like, it'd be really nice if I had that ability, but the spray paint I could do is just fine. So like the same thing is, it'd be really nice if I had the ability to 3D print some of these things, but like woodworking's fine, or I'm just fine just buying something that solves my problem rather than making it myself. So yeah. All right, I got 3 more questions. I wonder if I turn around, is my lighting gonna turn to butt or is it gonna be okay? Oh, it's okay. All right, because I gotta walk all the way back to my office now. Whew, it's kind of hot out. I don't know what the temperature is, but anyways, I'm gonna focus here. Damien had asked, since we can already print PCBs and 3D printers are currently relatively fine in terms of minor adjustments, will there be a point where I can go 3D print a whole piece of hardware? Certain things might be out of the realm of possibility for any sort of near future, but maybe giving it the different parts it would need, say like resistors, capacitors, etc., and having to essentially act as a personal assembly line for part creation. Yeah. Once again, I think the key thing is being able to get wires or conductive parts in there. That's the hardest thing. And what's really in the way of that is a really good way to add in low cost, low resistivity traces. So that's really one of the big things that we're waiting for. Then adding in like capacitors and things like that. Yeah, my opinion on that is it's totally possible. And it's something that this coming up this year, I want to work on more, is if you ever go on DigiKey, there's like 40 billion parts or something along those lines. And so every open source design that you find will be using a vast amount of different parts compared to a design that has a similar purpose. Not necessarily, but it's often the case. So what I want to do is make more designs that use a unified parts list, right? I call it the universal parts list. And so that universal parts list is the smallest amount of parts to make the most amount of things. And so if we had a bunch of designs that use this really universal parts list, then we can make a machine that could host those parts, and then it would become more conceivable to talk about that machine that you're making. So yes, the idea of a personal assembly line, really great, right? 3D printing is one of like the first steps for that. But I think electronics is where we're lacking to go to the electronic and mechanical system together. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is A, traces, and B, making it so it can work with a wide range of parts, or bringing our parts that we would use down to a digestible list of parts. All right, another question from Luke. Woo, it's windy this way. So Luke asked, I'm curious to know about how copyrighted material will be handled when 3D printing is more widely available. Like, what if someone creates a device that tricks a coffee maker to use generic coffee grounds instead of their proprietary pods? Sorry for being brief. Yeah. Okay, so to me, it's almost like music, right? There's like the big pirated music thing that you could shut down like the big sites, and I suppose like you could say like Keurig could try and find like where these were at and shut them down. But I think they would know that the fact of the matter is that a person who would seek out this solution to 3D print something to bypass it would probably just be able to find some other means anyway. And so probably what they would do is like this really big scare tactic of, ooh, if we find you, you're gonna get fined $40 million or something big, and they'd do it to one person, and there would be this big case. That's what I would see if it ever went that way. But honestly, it's a really hard thing for them to police. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about getting sued for 3D printing anything, but you also didn't hear that from me. That's not legal advice. Anyways, Jay, the final question. So when we eventually make it to other planets, unless one of those pesky meteors gets us first, do you think that hanging printers like what you had shared in the novel 3D printing report will be our best way to build a civilization? Do you see technology evolving beyond even that to a point where we could send printing crews of robots to set up our new bases? Yeah, so honestly, I don't, kind of back to the idea of printing buildings, I don't think it would be additive manufacturing. I think that it could totally be automated, but what I almost envision is like a compressed earth brick press that takes things and compresses that dirt and makes bricks. And then it goes through and lays those bricks out. Because then those bricks are in really nice units where it breaks up the process where you've got these bricks that you make, and then when you go to lay these bricks out in some sort of pattern, you can actually check and see, are these bricks that I'm laying down good or bad, right? It's kind of like this intentionally breaking it up into 2 steps at least, so you can check and see how you're doing along the way. Whereas direct extrusion, it's a little bit harder because in some cases, if you made a mistake, it might be too hard to correct it. So that's what I see happening there. Something that prints out bricks, or compresses bricks and then picks them up and uses them in an automated fashion. That's kind of what I see happening. Yeah, so super fun. Those are all very, very, very good questions, and I hope that you guys watching this video will be the people that take these questions and turn them into reality.